What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free. To live your best life, you must live label free. And I'm back with another incredible guest. So sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is the founder and CEO of HomeschoolToGo, a pioneering bilingual English and Spanish holistic K through 12 education program serving families across the Americas. Please welcome Houlie Duque. Houlie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and because I know that your community really cares about doing label-free, off the system type of things. I prepared a little gift for your audience
Oh,
that I'll
cool.
disclose at the end of our talk. So
Awesome. Excellent. So I really love what you've built and what you've created, especially in today's world. And we won't get too deep into the political side of things because I don't like to go there on the show. But I feel like with how far detached we've gotten from family values, I think
yeah,
what you have created is very much necessary and needed. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and the reason why you started Homeschools to Go. Homeschool to Go.
absolutely. Absolutely. I became a teacher. I was a teacher for 10 years and I used private curriculum. So I worked for prestigious education institutions like Cambridge, like Montessori, like Waldorf. And when I was teaching there, although I was very passionate about my job and I had a really good connection with my students, I could see that in the like in the way that my work was impacting them. I knew that I wasn't doing what I needed to do to take each one of these kids to the real ultimate potential. So for me, it was very clear from that experience that when I had my own children, I wanted something better for them. Because if this is
Mhm.
the top of the line, parents are dropping $25,000 a year to get their kids to be here. And to me, it's clear that this is not the best way for them to reach their full potential. Then I knew that there was a better way. And for me,
Yeah.
that was homeschooling because of the individualized attention that is such a pressing factor in their success and their thriving in the future. So that's the point when I decided I was going to do that. And then when I became a mom, I started creating the program and I saw how much need there was out there for this. It was also during COVID when I
Yeah.
when I launched and incorporated my organization. So we took off and I started to connect with parents across the Americas, saying, "We prayed you into our life. This is so amazing. This is exactly what I needed." So at that point, I knew that I needed to have a clear, big vision so I could support as many parents as possible throughout my journey.
So I was homeschooled a little bit, and I know I told you that during our intro call, and I think that was probably one of the best things that we did. It was me and my younger sister at the time. I'm the oldest of five. And then we went into I was in private school, homeschooled, and then I went into public school. And
Mhm.
I feel like it did incorporate some better values in
Yeah.
terms of discipline for myself. I can't speak for my sister, but discipline and what's the word I'm looking for? But I felt it was good for me. Now, during COVID, I think parents felt very overwhelmed because they were working from home and
Right.
they were having to homeschool their children. So, how do you help or your program help the parents that feel overwhelmed when they start homeschooling?
Yes, I think that the undertaking of being responsible for the education of your children is already an overwhelming thought.
Yeah.
So the usually the first thing that we do is we get the parents to realize that this is not a process that is going to look like it looks like in school, where you have to
Mm,
sit your kids for 8 or 5 hours a day and do all this academic work. Because at the end of the day, the academic work, it is important, but it's not the most important part.
yeah.
There's a ton of other skills that are way more transferable to life and that are necessary for thriving.
Yeah.
So what we do is because of my experience teaching, I know what are the methodologies that are the most effective. Like all the most prestigious education institutions are not using the regular academic rigor
Sure.
that you see in the schools, in most of the schools. It's called project-based education. So instead of separating things in subjects, like you're going to sit down and do worksheets about math, you're going to sit down
Yeah.
and do literacy. What we do is we put together a project that makes the child or the student feel like they have purpose behind what they're doing. So what that does is it doesn't only increase the engagement of the child because they
Yeah.
they see a point to what they're doing, but it also increases the retention and increases
Mm,
the repercussions of what that's going to create in their lives. And at the end, it also saves a lot of time.
sure.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah,
just to come to the end of the question, this is what we do. We simplify, we do all the expert work so that the parents that are with us, all that they need to do is sit down with their kids, follow the process and
yeah,
enjoy it so that they can focus on the connection, which is the most important factor in the process of teaching.
yeah, for sure. And I like how you said there's other things that are more transferable in life because I really do feel like that's the truth. And so now, do you have different programs for obviously K through 12? There's going to be different, they're going to grow and learn throughout those different stages. But what if there is a child that's maybe a little bit more distracted than others? Do you have other programs for children that are on it, maybe a little bit on the spectrum?
Yes, absolutely. We
Okay.
we serve a lot of neurodivergent children in our community. It's so one thing that we do is we do a multiple intelligence assessment. And from the get-go, this is something that happens more clearly around 8 years old. So that's the age that we do. It's a psychological assessment. But from the get-go, from the time that the parents are with children in pre-K, we start to train the parents on how to see these signs and how to
Mm,
process what are the dominant learning styles of the child. And then the content, the curriculums that we create for these parents are catered to that. So a child that, for example, has ADHD is a child that needs more generally, like it obviously varies,
sure, sure.
but typically a child with ADHD has very little visual learning or
Mm,
auditory learning and very strong kinesthetic learning. So this type of student needs to work with their hands. And so
okay.
we design a kinesthetic hands-on curriculum for that specific child.
Wow. Very impressive. So
Thank
how
you.
long did it take you from when you launched to where you are today, like to really like kind of fine tune all these different programs for different students?
Well, at the beginning, I created a flexible general program that was like a package of activities where the parents could choose, okay, the student has 5 activities that they have to do throughout the week,
Sure.
and this is the one that they can choose. And then we also made the activity so that they could be highly adaptable, like the parent can kind of add their own twist very easily to each one of the activities. And that worked really well for the K to second type of age group.
Okay.
But then once the kids were getting to third grade, which is a huge development jump, 9 to 10 to 11 years old, they started to have more personalized needs. And we found some kids were
Mm,
engaging as
yeah.
efficiently or as effectively with the curriculum that we had. So at that point, we knew that we needed to do something more personalized for them.
Yeah.
Some kids need more videos, some kids need more hands-on, some kids prefer to do podcasts and read that way. So
Mm,
so we started to design it accordingly after I would say when my first group of second grade students went to third grade, it was very evident for me that that was a
sure.
need that was pending. So I would say probably 2.5 years into the process, we started to adjust things to make it a lot more personalized than it was at the beginning. And it was about 2 years ago that I hired a psychologist that helped me put together the multiple intelligence assessment so that each kid gets their report. So they get a full report with what are
Yeah.
their predominant intelligences. Sometimes there's a case where like the child doesn't have a particular type of intelligence. So
Okay.
it's not beneficial for us to try and teach or try and do any of the schoolwork through that method because it's not
Mm,
gonna is not they're not gonna process it properly. So
yeah.
and so it's so those reports are very beneficial. That's something that we incorporated in the last year and a half.
In terms of regulatory expectations for school, how did you come up against any issues with that in Canada in America?
Right. So this is a huge concern that parents have. It's like, is
Yeah.
my kid going to be able to go to college? Are they going to have like an actual diploma? So this is one of the first things that I worried about when I started creating the curriculum. And because I was a teacher at a prestigious institution, I was very familiar always with what are the milestones that you need at each
Yeah.
of the levels. And so
Okay.
when I designed the curriculum, it was like this. And then when I started to sell the program to parents, it was really easy for them to get that validated by the
Okay.
authority.
Yeah.
Then we created an alliance or a partnership with an organization that sees the result of our curriculum and creates the actual transcripts that are transferable to any type of institution. And then the other
Wow.
thing too is like in states, for example, in Florida, there's like certain requirements in different states. So in states like Florida, they do, to give you an example, a portfolio assessment or a portfolio evaluation at the end of the year. And so when we were doing those portfolio assessments, the teacher that you hire has to be like a third party. So she also has that, like we have teachers in different places and they also have a partnerships with us. I'm talking right now specifically about the Florida one because
Okay.
it's a
Sure.
huge homeschooling community there. And when she started to evaluate our portfolios, she told me, I've been doing these evaluations for 10 years and your curriculum is the best that I have seen. It's
Wow.
so incredible to see how the kids get engaged and
Yeah.
how the parents sometimes think, oh, like we're not doing enough because they're conditioned by the system to
Sure.
feel like you need to have so many hours a day. And then when they get to the end of the year and they look at the portfolio, everything that their children have done, they're like, okay, yeah, there's no question. This
Yeah.
is way better than what they were getting before.
Yeah.
They even
No,
had
I love that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it's just this is a cool story. We had a family in Uruguay because we do all across the Americas. So we had a
Okay.
family in Uruguay where homeschooling is not as, let's say, popular or
Sure.
socially accepted as it's becoming here in North America. And they pulled their girl out of the private school and started using our program. And the private school sued them for
Yeah.
violating, yeah, for violating the rights of the child for education. And so they went to court. So the parents went to court with the private school, okay? And they ended up winning because they showed the lawyers, the court, that they had done so much more and that the girl was growing so much more with our curriculum than she was when she was enrolled in this private school. So
Yeah.
that was huge for a lot of families that are homeschooling in Uruguay as well, because it proved this system actually works.
Yeah, but like to have a school sue you over your own child, like
Yeah,
that
well,
almost feels so invasive and
yeah,
and just so wrong in so many different ways.
right. It's like the assumption that parents are not the best um, qualified to educate their children, which is crazy because if
It's
we
your
go
child.
right, it's your child. And if we go back to the beginning of like when education, the public school system was funded,
Yeah.
um, it was during the Industrial Revolution. And it was because of the industrialization, they were saying all the parents now had to go work at factories.
Right.
And at first, because the children when were with these parents at home, the parents would bring their kids to the factory. Like it wasn't a thing yet. It's like
Yeah.
you got to go away from your home to work. So the kids started getting injured and losing limbs and all these things happening because they didn't know what to do in the factory.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they were, okay, we need to find a place to send the children while the parents are working. And wherever we send them, we need to train them so that when they come out, they can serve the system of factory workers. So the school system is still designed that way, is made
Wow.
that students receive compliance training, not critical thinking, not problem solving, not emotional development. And there's studies even from Harvard that show how a child, like they do tests to see how many children have genius ability or
Hmm.
gifted abilities at very young age. And the percentage of kids that have it at the beginning is like above 70%. And
Wow.
kept evaluating the same children along the years. And by the time they reached grade three, the
Oh,
percentage
sure.
dropped from 70% to like 3%, or even I think like somewhere between
That's a
three and
huge drop.
it's a huge drop. So what it teaches you is that, or what they concluded from the study is that the school system was making these kids lose their creativity, lose their
Yeah.
critical thinking, which is one of the most important factors for developing that genius that each person has.
Yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
That's crazy. Those are you're like that's those are some really disturbing facts,
Yes,
you
yes.
know?
There's also another study that I mention a lot because a lot of parents will have like they don't have the confidence or maybe they have concerns. Am I going to be the one teaching
Yeah.
my child? It was during World War II. A lot of children lost their parents, and they did a study on the children that didn't like a lot of children were put into foster homes, and they evaluated the involvement of the foster parents and the foster homes and the kids that still had their parents in their education. And they concluded that the kids that had involved parents in their education had bigger brains, like
Wow.
literally were smarter, because that daily connection, that parent involvement is crucial for the development and the growth of the brain. And I see it, I obviously see it now because we have so many children that have genius and that like their genius has sparked since they left
Yeah.
the school system. But
Yeah.
I saw it when I was a teacher because it was very evident always the kids that were the most like outstanding in the classrooms, the smartest, were not necessarily like it was always tied to the fact that they had involved parents at home, that
Yeah.
their parents at home cared about the education of their children.
Yeah.
So I think parents are the most qualified for the education of their children if they have the right tools, right? And so
Yeah.
that's where we come in. That's our mission, to make sure that every parent has what they need so that they can do their thing, because nobody can do it better than them.
Yeah, and that's actually brings me to my next question. Do you offer any type of coaching for the parents if they need it? So they're like all for it, but they're a little hesitant with applications. So you know what I mean? Do you offer
Yeah.
that?
Absolutely. So we give the parents like the assessments, we give them the curriculum, and then we also assign a teacher to every parent. So this teacher is going to be checking in with them every week to make sure things are working well. If they're not working well, or if they're realizing, oh, my child is very behind in reading and these textbooks are not working for them. So
Okay.
then the teacher is trained to send different resources and try different things, offer different tips. And then we also do group meetings where all the
Okay.
kids from all over the world come together. They show each other their projects. So that also is a big support for the parents, because sometimes
Yeah.
you want to have some other type of motivation. And
Yeah.
belonging in community is a big driver when it comes to humans in general, but for
Yeah.
children, it works really well.
I would say though, bringing people from around the world together is almost creates more culture too.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
we always bring out the map, and everybody talks about the place that they're from and the
Yeah.
language that they speak. And it's a really cool experience for them. And also for the teachers that are doing it, it's like, because when you sign up to be a teacher, is because you have some sort of passion for
Sure.
creating an impact on the children. So it's a happy experience for everybody involved.
I just love what you're doing. What is one of the number one main hesitations, or we'll say labels, that negative labels that parents potentially have on going this direction if they're considering it?
Yeah, so I would say, well, the number one question is always like, what about socialization? Like people are afraid that they're going to be isolated from homeschooling, which
Yeah.
is not the case at all. Like
No.
there's so many facts and so much data on how homeschool kids actually have way above average social skills, psychological, emotional than the rest of the kids. Like, this is why like the gift that I was talking about at the beginning, which I'll disclose at the end, this is why I created this, because it kind of like helps answer all those questions and tackle all those insecurities for the
Yeah.
parents. Another one is, am I gonna have the time? So that's
Sure.
another thing that we do. We help the parents design a family rhythm that works for them. It's like
I like
being able
that.
to compartmentalize your priorities and your days. Because I am a homeschooler and I am a working parent, right? Like
Yeah.
I drive an organization, I manage a team of 10 people, almost 100 students in our program. So it's a big undertaking. Like I am, let's say, like in the corporate world, to put it that way. And then I'm also a homeschooler. And there are
Yeah.
ways that you can do that. We have lots of entrepreneur parents in our program. And I think designing a family rhythm that is conducive for that lifestyle is important. So yeah, that's another part of how we help the parents get set up for that.
I love it.
And
Family rhythm. Yeah, I like that term. With that being said, Huli, where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more of learning about your program and homeschooling their children?
absolutely. So the gift that I was talking about is a training, a free masterclass that I offer. It's designed with with the parent in mind. With
Okay.
if you're a parent that feels if you're a parent that feels like you want something better for the education of your children, you feel like this is an overwhelming undertaking, you want to do it, but you're not feeling like you're capable of doing it. This class was designed for this type of parent, and you
Okay.
can find it at www.homeschooltogo.org. As soon as you click there, you'll see a big button that says go to the Homeschool to Go free masterclass. So you
Okay.
can find that there. You can also find me on Instagram as
Perfect.
Houlie Duque, Duque. Well, you probably put it in the notes of the show,
Yes, I
right?
will. Yeah.
It's HOULIEDUQUE, or you can go to homeschool.to go.
Perfect.
So we are super active on there and we're very accessible because we're all about the parents. So they can find me there and make sure if you feel like this is calling to you and you feel like I'm talking about you when I say it's an overwhelming undertaking, but you care about the education of your children, you have children somewhere between pre-K and 12th grade age, then this is something that it's definitely going to encourage you and fill up all those concerns that you might be having right now.
Sure. You guys, I'm gonna put those links in the show notes, and also you see it here on the screen if you are watching this. So don't hesitate to take that free masterclass. Reach out to Houlie. I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And as a young woman that was homeschooled, I have to say it definitely helped me with my education and just evolving as an individual in life. Houlie, this is the part of the show where I like to ask the last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
I would like to just reiterate that as the parent, you really have such an incredible impact on the future of your child. Don't ever take that for granted and don't ever feel like somebody else has more of a capacity to raise them and to educate and prepare them for the future like you do. There's nobody else in the world that could be better for this job. You just need the right tools and the tools are out there, the support is out there, the
Mm.
community is out there. So reach for that because you really have the power to change your life, of the life of your child and to set them up for a successful future.
Yeah, and create like more powerful, strong leaders for our future.
Right.
You
Like
know,
we're living in critical times. And so
yes,
the decisions that we make, especially if you're raising children, that's about the biggest impact that you can create as an individual. So
1000%. Oh my gosh. Huli, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And thank you so much for stepping into that role and providing a resource for parents to help educate their children in the right way and create strong, thriving individuals. Because I think that there's such a need for it. And
yeah.
so, like, you really started this at a critical time. So, thank you so much for sharing your story and doing what you do.
Thank you for having me and for sharing me with your audience. It's a pleasure to come here on your platform.
You're welcome. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.